We are going to display a list of items on this homepage. Currently, we have nothing here. We have this app bar, but we don't have any content. In this lesson, we are going to start displaying some static dummy tasks on this page. And once we start working with the databases, we shall replace this dummy task, this static content, with actual data from the database. You have to start with this file, to-do list page.dart. So open this one. Try the simplest way to display a list of items. Add an instance of the widget ListView to the property body of the scaffold. In Dart, a list is created using the square brackets. Currently, an empty list is being passed to the property children of the ListView. Add a few items to the list. Let's display a list of text. So add a few text widgets separated by comma. This approach is the simplest and best for displaying a small number of items. But this is not suitable for a long list of items. Imagine you have to display 100 items on the list. You will have to manually add the widgets for each of the items, which is not at all convenient. But don't worry, there is a better way. The ListView class has a constructor called builder that helps us to create a list view for a long list of items. Let's try this one. Remove this instance of ListView from the scaffold's body and add a new instance of the ListView class. But this time, create the instance with this constructor builder, ListView.builder. This constructor has a parameter named itemBuilder to which you have to pass an implementation of a function that will be responsible for creating the layout of the individual items of the list. This function will be called by the framework and it has to be of a specific syntax. An instance of the build context and an index for which the layout is being created is passed to this function. So add parameters to hold these values. The widget tree for the layout of the individual items of the list has to be returned from this function. Return a text widget for now. Pass the text to be displayed. Now you have to specify the number of items this list view should display. Pass the number to the parameter item count of the builder constructor. Let's use string interpolation to print the index. Save the changes and notice 10 text being displayed on the page. You can try different values for the item count and notice these changes. This is much convenient, right? Now try using another constructor of the ListView class, ListView.separated. This helps add a separator between two items of the ListView. This constructor too has a parameter itemBuilder for creating the layout for the individual items. So keep what you added in the previous step. It has another parameter called separatorBuilder that takes a similar function, but for creating the layout for a separator item that separates the items of the list. Try it yourself. The syntax is similar. Return an instance of the widget called divider. This is an inbuilt widget that helps display a horizontal line. Save the changes and we have these lines between the list items. You can try returning different widgets as separators from this function. Now try to make the layout of the individual items a little better. We shall display a title of the task. Below this text, we shall display a secondary text with a smaller font. And to the right end, we shall display a checkbox. This is a pretty common structure for a to-do list item, right? In fact, this is a common layout for the items of most of the list. And thus, Flutter provided a widget called ListStyle for creating this type of a layout easily. Return an instance of the widget ListStyle from this itemBuilder function. Passed a text widget to the property title, pass another text widget to display below the title to the property subtitle, pass an instance of the widget checkbox to the property trailing to display a checkbox towards the end of the title. This widget has a property value and a function onChanged. When we check or uncheck the checkbox, this function gets called and we can perform some operation accordingly. You can try another property of the list style called leading to display a widget at the start of the tile. You have seen the use of string interpolation a few times, right? You can experiment with it a little here. Try to print this index without using string interpolation. You have to add plus after this quotation and add the variable to print. String interpolation makes this easier. Simply add the dollar symbol, then the variable. And to print the results of an expression, use the curly brackets. So you have learned how to display a list of items in Flutter using the ListView widget. You have learned about the collection list using which we can create a list of items in Dart. You have learned how to use the builder constructor of the ListView class for creating a long list of items. You have learned how to use the separator constructor to display a divider between the items of the list. And you have also learned about the list tile widget using which we can create a good looking layout for the individual items of the list very easily. And next we are going to create a separate class for representing the tasks of our app.